Welcome. I'm on a yacht in Marina del Rey. My partner Olivier and I have been doing a tour of Nevada and California, and we are with our good friend Greta, who's a love coach, and had a few minutes, so we thought we'd film a few more videos for our blog. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing true stories that have helped me to really see how these tools work. I love sharing powerful, empowered stories, success stories, so that you know that these tools really do create outstanding relationships. This particular story I'm going to share right now took place in Louisville, Kentucky. I was leading a workshop, a parenting workshop. There were maybe 30, 35 mothers there. And at the beginning of the workshop, I was greeting people as they came in. And there was a woman who came in, and I recognized her that she had been at my workshop a year earlier on my last visit to Louisville, Kentucky. So it was nice to see her again, and I welcomed her back. But I have to be honest, and I'm going to be very honest in this story. She had a Sarah Palin button that said, "I'm proud to be a young Republican." And this was back a few years ago when this happened. And I will own my prejudice that I'm not a big fan of Sarah Palin. And so I was happy to see the woman coming back to my workshop, of course. When I saw the button, I had a judgment. And part of this story is going to be about the irony of my own judgment. Anyway, fast forward 45 minutes later, I'm leading the class, and we get to the part where I'm talking about the power of universal human needs. And I said to the class, you know, your entire life can change if you really understand how to work with universal human needs. And somebody spontaneously, when they heard me say that, said, "Oh, come on, Scott." I guess I sounded a little bit like a used car salesman. Yes, your life can change. Anyway, before I could kind of defend myself or respond to that comment, the Sarah Palin button lady stands up, she's sitting towards the back of the room and says, no, it's true. That list changed and saved my life. Changed and saved my life. At this point, everybody's looking at her, and God bless her, she proceeded to tell the following story. She'd come to my workshop the year earlier because she and her husband had reached a horrible place in their marriage, really bad. Kind of a more traditional, conservative family. He's the breadwinner. He owns a company. If I recall correctly, he had about 35, 40 employees. And she's the homemaker and takes care of their 3 kids. And they had been growing more and more apart. He was getting very focused on his business. His business was taking up all of his time and energy. And she was missing him. And what would happen is she would, for example, wake up early in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, thinking about all the things she wanted to talk to her husband about. And she couldn't go back to sleep, and she'd be thinking about all the things about going on with the kids and their relationship, and why don't they make love anymore, and why don't they talk anymore. And she'd become pretty wound up with all the things she wanted to talk to him about. And when she'd finally get out of bed, make breakfast for the kids, take the kids to school, come back to the house, make a really nice breakfast for him, fantasizing about finally having a quality conversation with him. And inevitably, he would come down to the breakfast table, and instead of giving her attention, he'd be on his iPad getting ready for work, kind of half eating and half preparing for work. And she'd lose it. She would start yelling at him. She was so frustrated. "I made you this beautiful breakfast. You don't pay any attention to me. You don't love me. You don't care about me. You know, our marriage is just going to hell." Well, of course, he'd hear that. He'd explode. He'd defend himself and, attack back. In his world, he's defending himself. In her world, he's attacking back. He'd get up, go to work, and she would just be left with all this pain. The conversation didn't happen. Instead, a big fight. And they were repeating this pattern over and over. And she's all alone in this house. And she had started to drink. And she started drinking earlier and earlier and earlier in the day. Until finally, there were times that he'd come home from work and she was drunk on the couch. Totally embarrassed. And you can bet once he saw her drunk on the couch, how he really laid into her. Absolutely horrified that the mother of his children was becoming this way, an alcoholic, or perceived as an alcoholic. And she's sharing all of this with 35 other mothers at this Louisville parenting group. And then she shared probably the most vulnerable thing of all. She said, I was actually having suicidal fantasies. I just didn't want to put my kids through that. That's what kept me alive. I wouldn't put my kids through suicide. And then somebody suggested, hey, there's this guy, Scott. He leads, outstanding relationships workshops. You should go check it out. So she came to my workshop and did the very practice of looking at the list of universal human needs. And as most of the people, and certainly you, the viewers, will see, I'm going to show you how to use this list when you're looking at what's going on for you and what's going on for anybody else. So when I asked her and the group, which of these needs are driving you, are really important to you as you think about a conflict you're having with somebody, and of course, she was thinking about the conflict with her husband, she looked at the list. I'm longing for communication, partnership, connection, intimacy. Then when I asked, and what do you think the primary values when you're having this conflict with another person? What are the primary values driving the other person? And this is where she did great. She thought about her husband. Okay, what's going on with him in the morning? Why doesn't he pay attention to me? And then she remembered that he used to always say, I've got 35, 40 employees. I need to set a good example. I need to have my head in the game. I need to get to work and know exactly what's going on so I can set the right example. So looking at the list, he's trying to meet his need for responsibility, efficiency, reliability. So that night when she went home from the workshop, the first workshop she'd come to with me, she apologizes to her husband. She says, honey, I want to tell you, I think I learned something about you at this workshop I did today. And I want to apologize. When I get angry at you in the morning, I'm just wondering, is it that in the morning you're really focused on really being a great boss, and that you're being driven by your need for responsibility and reliability and efficiency? His jaw drops. He lights up like a Christmas tree because she's understanding him. We all want to be understood. And guess what happens when we're understood? Our heart opens. We feel connected. And that led to her saying, so honey, can I just tell you what's going on for me in the morning when I'm that upset? He's a little defensive, but well, okay, what is it? She says, honey, it's just that I miss you. I miss you so much. I'm just longing for more partnership, communication, connection. I miss our intimacy. I don't want to drink. I just want to be close to you again. Well, that changed everything. Because you see, we all can relate to the universal human needs. She took it beyond you not talking to me in the morning and any sense of that being right or wrong, and just into the universal need of what's driving him, the universal needs driving her. And their whole relationship shifted. And this is still her telling the story to the group, and I'm going to make an attempt to do my best Southern accent to kind of finish the story. So you got to picture this perfectly coughed woman who's told this whole story saying, so now y'all, I got to tell you, we've made copies of this list, and we have it everywhere. We've got the list of universal human needs. We've got it in the bathroom. We've got it on the refrigerator. We even put a copy in the SUV where we drive between the seats, and we just agreed that whenever we have a difference, we calm down, we talk gently, and we look at which of these needs are driving each of us, and we haven't had a fight ever since. And it's a beautiful story, and it's true, of course, but I want to bring it back. I've told this story at least 50, maybe 75 of my classes and workshops. She's become a significant part of my teaching repertoire. And I judged her because of a frigging button. Just because of a button that I didn't like. I had a judgment about this woman who turned out to be so courageous, who turned out to have really used these tools and then had the courage to share it with so many other people. I mean, I will have admiration and respect for her for the rest of my life. And yet I judged her because of a button she was wearing. So there's a few points to the story. Let's try, judgment still happens, but let's just notice when we're judging. And then, okay, there's my judgment. Now let me see who this person is. Thanks for listening.